To say that Dunzo is in big trouble right now would be an understatement. The company that is quite literally synonymous with sending things to your people within your city, like, you know, I'll Dunzo you the chocolate cake that I made, or I have this herbal tea you should have since you're down with the flu. I'll Dunzo it to you. Dunzo is such an anomaly in so many ways. It's a small company that has managed to make itself a verb like Google, but Google is a giant. Its revenue was just $7 million in the year that ended in 2022. To give you perspective of how little that is, Zomato made more than 70 times that amount in the same period. But it did not matter because Dunzo changed our lives and it became the kind of consumer brand that tech companies would do anything to become. And now it's come to a point where it has only 50 employees left in the company. In the latest round of layoffs that happened earlier this week, it let go of 75% of its workforce. To understand the unraveling of Dunzo, we need to go back to 2 years ago when Dunzo was on a high. It was January 2022, and Reliance Retail had become Dunzo's biggest backer. Reliance gave it $200 million in funding in exchange for a 26% stake in the company. That year, Dunzo started running ad campaigns in IPL, which, as we all know, is super expensive. But it saw a boom in the number of orders, as many as 3 to 4,000 per dark store. So, it began expanding these dark stores across the city. But all of this cost the company. By the second half of the same year, 2022, the number and the volume of orders across cities began to rapidly fall. By the middle of last year, Dunzo was shutting down its dark stores. In April 2023, the startup cut its workforce by 30%. And now, after the latest round of layoffs a few days ago, Dunzo just has 50 employees left. It cut off 75% of its workforce. So today, I thought is a good day to take you back to the story of how trouble began at Dunzo and what was its plan to get out of the slump. Welcome to Daybreak, a business podcast from the Ken. I'm your host Nigda Sharma, and I don't chase the news cycle. Instead, every day of the week, my colleague Rahel Philippos and I will come to you with one business story that is worth understanding and worth your time. Today is Thursday, the 5th of September. 2018 was a year when Dunzo blew up. The same year, sometime in November, Rohin Dharmakumar, the Ken's co-founder, interviewed Kabir Biswas, the co-founder of Dunzo. He told him that they looked at 6 months' worth of consumer data and they figured that people were mainly using Dunzo for 6 things. Apparently, people are very predictable. Even if you tell them that anything is possible, they will still stick to the usual stuff. So, the first of the 6 things that people were using Dunzo for was to move stuff around and within the city. The second was for buying stuff from stores. The third was for multi point logistics, which basically meant take this from me, go to the store, and bring it back. These three formed over 90% usage of Dunzo in its early product stage. The fourth was government tasks like passport and Aadhaar formalities. The fifth was for home stuff like plumbing, electricity, and carpentry related problems. And the last was for secretarial tasks like book a table for me, book a flight ticket for me, etc. So you see how, with these mundane everyday tasks, Dunzo became a trailblazer of sorts. At the beginning of 2022, Dunzo was on a roll. Reliance Retail had given it $200 million in funding. It was all set to advertise in the Indian Premier League or the IPL. And in the meantime, it was also expanding its dark stores into new areas such as New Delhi and the National Capital Region. the main driver of all the success was its quick commerce service called Dunzo Daily. It promised the delivery of products from more than 200 dark stores and other local supermarkets in under 20 minutes. One employee who spoke to the Ken reporter Somijit Saha said that Dunzo Daily grew its average order value to as much as 350 rupees in early 2022. Another employee who worked in operations told us that it was getting a couple of million orders every month. Things were great. Plus, the success was a validation of sorts for Dunzo's leadership team. And that's because for a long time, the company had been thinking of moving away from its model of sourcing products from local supermarkets. They wanted to move to a dark store led model. So, when the boom in the demand for delivery came after the pandemic, Dunzo joined Swiggy and Blinkit in the race to acquire as many dark stores as possible. The idea was to have better control over the quality and availability of products. And it kind of made sense because it was becoming increasingly difficult for them to standardize products across partner supermarkets. It would be much easier if they had their own dark stores. But this boom came at a cost. Stay tuned for the next segment. Dunzo was spending about 80 rupees on every order that it was shipping. This is called cost per task or CPT. Turns out, as we discovered from a former employee, the CPT on dark stores was much higher. Because having their own dark store also meant that they would have to pay for rent, inventory, electricity. But the CPT on the supermarket partner model, which Dunzo originally had, was just 30 rupees. Plus, let's not forget how the delivery market in India is so overcrowded now. And the kind of rise we saw in the demand for delivery too has kind of slowly slumped a little. Other delivery companies like Swiggy and Blinkit are already cutting down on the number of their dark stores. So by October 2022, it was clear that there was no option left for Dunzo. Scaling back was inevitable. So earlier this year, it started shutting down its dark stores in cities including Delhi NCR and Hyderabad. And it also began laying off large sections of both its permanent and contractual employees. It began to transition back to what had proved to work for it in the first place, the supermarket partner model. Coming up next, high costs were not the only issue with dark stores. Former employees of Dunzo told Somijit that the dramatic shutting down of dark stores was also because of certain systemic issues. One of them said that Dunzo's expansion plans were simply not good enough. For example, a lot of the early dark store operations in Delhi NCR were being carried out manually or through third-party software like Shoptree, which turned out to be quite glitchy for employees to use. The employee also told us how they would often be stuck filing the same task on multiple sheets. He told us that because of this, optimization was really slow and bad. And not just that, when the IPL led boom ended, many of the dark stores continued to either overprocure or procure the wrong products. This obviously led to more costs. And there were other related issues as well, especially to do with seasonal and regional preferences. The same employee also told us that Dunzo often ran experiments successfully in Bangalore, but it would fail in new geographies when expanding. So clearly, the plan to pivot to a dark store centered model did not quite work out for Dunzo. So, what then is its plan B? Stay tuned to find out. Dunzo Daily might have been the superstar, but the company also has an underdog, and it is called Dunzo for Business, in short, DMS. It is Dunzo's business to business arm that provides last mile delivery services to small enterprises. For example, local restaurants and direct to consumer companies like meat delivery company Licious, bakery Theobroma, and others. DMS came into the picture when Dunzo executives noticed something. They realized that some merchants were repeatedly using the platform to deliver products. This courier service used by customers to ship things hyper-locally was one of Dunzo's earliest and most popular offerings. The firm then decided that it would be better to have a tailor made service to facilitate this last mile delivery for merchants. So in 2019, Dunzo for Business took off formally and the dashboard put merchants first. But DMS was contributing under 10% to Dunzo's overall revenues in early 2022. It was, after all, meant to be a side business. But everything changed when Reliance entered the scene with its investments. DMS was the perfect fit for JioMart. Reliance sent its product managers and other executives to work closely with the DMS team at Dunzo. The idea was to provide last mile delivery services for JioMart. The division now offers services in various forms such as express delivery, same day delivery, next day delivery, and so on, working with about 25,000 merchants. Suddenly, Dunzo was paying extra attention to DMS. The refocus on DMS was all the more evident as the company scaled down half of its dark stores. Dunzo was betting on DMS to get itself out of the tough spot. The vertical was closing in on Dunzo Daily as the biggest revenue contributor. But the segment already had established players such as Shadowfax and ExpressBees. Jump to 2024, and what has made Dunzo's world crashing down right now is that two of its most important investors, which we've been talking about, one of which we've been talking about, Reliance, and the other one is Google. Google is a whole different story. We'll get to that some other day. But Reliance and Google have both decided not to help Dunzo right now because Dunzo was unable to meet some important service level agreements. As of now, Dunzo's losses have gone up 4 times between 2022 and 2023. And the FY 2024 financials are still not available. So, despite beating all of the odds for the longest time, Dunzo seems to have finally started losing its edge. By the way, this episode is not over yet. The Daybreak Unwind segment is coming on, so stay tuned. Hi, Rahil.
Hi, Snigdha. How was your weekend?
It was quite good.
What do you do?
I went and watched this really great Korean movie. And it was this open air movie screening. So that was quite nice, except it started raining.
Oh, God.
But it was a lovely movie. Yeah.
What movie was it?
Past Lives.
I loved Past Lives. I watched it. It is such a beautiful movie. It's so like it captures I sound so pretentious, but like the complexity of relationships.
Exactly.
So beautifully.
Exactly. It reminded me a little bit of, this movie called, I think it's a Norwegian film called The Worst Person in the World. Have you watched it?
Haven't.
It's also very good. You love it. Okay. If you love Past Lives, then you love it.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
We talk about this a lot. I think both of us really enjoy shows and movies that have characters that you wouldn't normally like. Like unlikable characters are our thing, right?
Exactly.
The kind of characters that grow on you eventually.
Yeah. Black and white doesn't work.
Yeah.
Give me grey.
Boring. Yeah, give me grey.
Right. Okay. On that note, welcome to the second edition of our brand new segment, Daybreak Unwind. And if you listen to Daybreak regularly, you will know that Rahil and I have been talking about this for a while now. The thing is, both of us, when we're not working on serious episodes, we spend a lot of our time talking about books, movies, great TV shows, good places to eat. Basically, just what to do over the weekend.
We love a good recommendation.
Exactly.
And last week, if you listen to our Thursday episode, you would know that we actually decided that we wanted you to be part of that conversation as well. We're kind of tired of just riffing off of each other's ideas, each other's
we're running out of recommendations.
We're running out of recommendations very quickly. So we decided that, you know what, why not reach out to this incredible community of listeners that we have and figure out what they're into right now.
Yeah, because I'm sure all of us have great very interesting
Yes.
recommendations that come from all different spaces, right? Like, why not share that with each other? And especially on a Thursday,
Yeah.
as we plan the weekend, what to do to
Unwind.
unwind. So, yeah, join the conversation if you have any great recommendations that, the Daybreak community will enjoy. Send us a text or a voice note, ideally a voice note, whatever your recommendation is and why you like it. We are now officially on WhatsApp. You can message us at 897 1108 379. And if you don't live in India, you can just add +91 before that number. So, to begin with, we had our lovely listener Ashish send in his recommendation for this week. Listen to this.
Hi Snigdha and Rahel. My name is Ashish and I'm based from Bengaluru. I'm a big fan of the Daybreak. My recommendation for the Unwind segment is the TV show called The Bear, which is about restaurants. It's a fun, binge worthy show for the weekend. It includes tragedy, great storytelling, and character building. It's portrayed so well that you can imagine yourself right in the center of the chaotic kitchen. I've been recommending this to a friend who exclusively watches K drama. Hopefully, listening to this segment can help convince her to watch this show.
Snigdha, you're a big fan of The Bear, no?
Yeah. It's a brilliant show, of course. I mean, the first 2 seasons were great. The third one, I was a little disappointed, I would say. It's still good,
Okay.
but I just think that it was unnecessarily stylized. But, Jeremy Allen White.
It's one of those things that I've just not gotten around to watching, but
Yeah.
so many people have recommended it. I have to
Yeah.
watch.
But also, you know that he's super popular on Instagram, right? The guy who's the main lead character of Bear,
Okay.
Jeremy Allen White. And he did this Calvin Klein campaign and
Oh.
he went viral on social media.
Oh.
And they're calling it the year of the rodent man with Jeremy Allen White, Barry Keoghan, who was in that weird film called Salt, was it? No, it was Saltburn. It was a strange film. Okay, Rahil, what is your recommendation this week? I'm very excited to hear.
Okay, so my recommendation isn't a film or a book or a song or anything like that. It's actually an
Interesting.
activity, I think, or
Okay.
like
Are you going to ask us to start running?
close. You are.
Okay.
Or it's like a community. Okay. Anyway, it's Sisters in Sweat.
Right.
It's honestly changed my life in many ways. So, for those of you who are unfamiliar with what Sisters in Sweat does, it's this community that was founded by these two very incredible women. One of them is a Nike coach. Her name is Shweta Subaya. And the other one is a professional footballer. Her name is Tanvi Hans. And they started Sisters in Sweat with the sole objective of getting more women to do sports and like creating kind of safe spaces for women to play sports.
Wow.
And basically, this was the year that I really got into like fitness, wellness, my health. And I've never really been, and I've spoken to you about this before, I haven't grown up being the most athletic person. And I convinced myself that I wasn't athletic. I couldn't play sports. I couldn't run. Somewhere, I was that kid that would fake an illness and skip PT.
PT class.
Yeah, every single time.
Me too, Rahil, me too.
Yeah, but like something switched in my brain this year. I turned 27 and like I literally didn't do anything for my birthday. In the morning, I went for a run. I absolutely hated it. I ran for like 1 minute and I was
That's
like,
so
oh my
strange,
God,
because I
this is
know you
terrible.
love running.
Now,
Yeah.
But then I consistently did it and like also happened to coincide with my move to Bangalore where everyone is just like
into some sports
all the time.
Yeah.
But I discovered Sisters in Sweat and they organize a bunch of different kind of, sports, things like that. So football, beginner football, they have a run club at Carbon Park every Sunday, that sort of thing.
That is so cool.
And just doing sports and being active with a bunch of women is amazing. Like,
can
it's not
imagine.
at all intimidating. You're not scared of looking silly or, dumb.
That is so nice.
Yeah, and I've absolutely loved it. So if you're in Bombay, Gurgaon, Bangalore, and you haven't checked out Sisters in Sweat, I would 100% recommend following them on social media, looking up their website,
Yeah.
and just going for a session.
And if you're a man listening to this, tell all your
Whoever,
friends,
yeah,
yeah, all the
yeah,
women in your life.
yeah.
Amazing. That's so cool. I love that. All right. Thank you, Rahil. And now we'll move to our next recommendation, which is from Joy, who is from Assam. Joy, thank you so much for your text message. Also, I have to tell you that my recommendation this week is in the same realm as yours. I'll get to it after this.
Hi, this is Joy from Assam. I would like to recommend reading web novels in wuxiaworld.com. It has translated Chinese and Korean web novels, and it's interesting seeing how these different cultures have their own version and interpretation of fantasy and sci-fi compared to what it is in India and other mainstream Western media. I've been reading novels there for like 10 years now, and my first one was called Panlong, aka Coiling Dragon. It's a very nice novel and still one of my all time favorites.
That's so nice.
I love
That's very
that.
cool. I'll definitely check it out. Thank you, Joy. And that brings me to my recommendation for this week. Rahil, I love short stories, right? So I was at Champaka this weekend, and okay, for those of you who are not from Bangalore or who haven't been, it's the loveliest bookstore, and if you ever come here, you have to check it out. So I was there, and I found this very interesting collection of contemporary science fiction short stories from China, which have been translated into English, and the collection is called Invisible Planets: 13 Visions from the Future of China.
Wow.
And it caught my attention because it's compiled by this very famous science fiction Chinese American writer called Ken Liu, and he's won like a whole bunch of awards for science fiction writing, Nebula and Hugo and all that. Like, you should check him out.
Very cool.
So I read the first story, and it's called The Year of the Rats, by this writer called Chen Qufan.
Sorry, Snigdha, I don't want to interrupt
Yeah.
you, but there seems rats and rodents seem to be a running theme in this segment. But yeah,
Running
sorry.
theme.
Running theme.
But yeah. So yeah, this writer called Chen Qufan, I am quite sure I'm pronouncing that wrong, but I'm sorry about that. But yeah, he also goes by the name Stanley Chan, and like he's also a very well known writer, and he actually works for Baidu.
Oh,
Yeah, that's so
wow.
crazy.
Okay.
And his writing stands out because he combines science fiction and realism. So like when you're reading, like for example, this book, right? It's the perfect example of that. Like you start reading it, you'll never, if it was not written like science fiction anywhere in the book, you would not be able to put it in a category. Like
Okay.
it's a
Wow,
bit genre
interesting.
defying
Yeah.
sort of. So it's the story is about a bunch of college students. They get conscripted to hunt down these genetically modified rats.
Okay.
Okay. And these rats were meant to be exported to other countries for whatever reasons, but they have escaped from the labs, and they are breeding like crazy. And so these men, they're part of the rodent control force, and it's basically a bunch of losers. So whoever joins the rodent control force, it's like they have nothing else left. Okay, they didn't make it in life, so this is what they have to do. So basically, it's this army of losers. They're hunting down these rats, and somehow some of them are still trying to find meaning even in this. But the interesting thing here, the twist, is that even the rats, they are evolving. So they are
Wow.
building, like they have birthing rooms, and they're doing agriculture and all of that, and they think that the humans are committing genocide on them. So it's very interesting. But yeah, that was my recommendation.
That is such a good one.
Yeah. All right. Rahil, what's the next one that we have?
Okay. So we have a listener named Ishan Sarkar who sent in his recommendation last week.
So my movie recommendation is Peanut Butter Falcon, and it's a amazing movie, and it's a comedy based. a movie in which a Down syndrome kid runs away from, like the institution he is kept at, and being on the way, he wants to become a wrestler, and for that he follows something, and he goes out to meet his, icon in wrestling, and on the way he meets an outlaw, and the time they spend, like the movie's name, Peanut Butter Falcon. Peanut butter is actually a thing which has a significant role in the movie, and Falcon is also something which you guys will see if anyone watches the movie. It's a very light felt, feel good movie, and I think everyone should watch that.
Thank you, Ishan. We will be checking that one out
Yes.
too.
Lovely. And the last one we have is from Apurva, and she recommends watching Blue-eyed Samurai, which is an anime show on Netflix. And she says you should watch it even if you're not into anime. So maybe it's a great first anime
Are you
movie to
into
watch.
anime?
Not really, but I do love all the Studio Ghibli stuff.
Mm.
Yeah, it's lovely. Okay. And before we wrap up, for the next unwind segment, we have a theme, and it is comfort food from your favorite spot in town, whichever town you're in. Send us your recommendation as voice notes, ideally. And if you're not comfortable, that's okay. You can send us a text message all on WhatsApp. You have the number, we'll put it in the show notes. Tell us about it, what it is, and why you love it, and how it makes you feel. I'm actually very excited for this one.
Me too.
Right? All right, on that note, that's a wrap. Thank you for tuning in. Waiting to hear from you on WhatsApp.